On the onset, I would just like to thank the Executive Secretary for accepting my invitation today. And to put on record, the President called me earlier this morning and said that he's sending the Executive Secretary today to participate in the deliberation to show sign of respect also to the Blue Ribbon Committee members. So I appreciate the call of the President, and I appreciate the call of ES Vic Rodriguez that he will attend in today's hearing. Hopefully it will put to rest any marites or chismis that he's avoiding and not wanting to comply or to answer questions from our distinguished colleagues. Again, my sincerest thanks to the Executive Secretary and to the President.
Thank you, Senate President Zubiri. I also would like to express our gratitude for the presence of the good Executive Secretary. Though we issued a subpoena earlier, it will clarify a lot of things. There were other contradictory statements issued by some resource persons a while ago, which will need to be clarified. Pressing issues for the day, Mr. Witness, are two items. One, there were insinuations made, and it's part of the TSN by Yusek Sebastian, that there were signals, quote-unquote, emanating from your good office that triggered them to act in the manner that resulted in the aborted SO number 4. Number 2, Senator Ontiveros, and she will clarify this later, raised the issue as to whether the misperceptions, quote-unquote, claimed by the SRA board members were triggered by communications, subliminal or otherwise, emanating from you. Number 3, just today, the former SRA head, Mr. Serafica, claimed that the original agreed upon importation number would be 600,000 metric tons, a far cry from the previous 300,000 or 150,000, plus other items that would be clarified emanating from your sworn statements. Again, we appreciate, we reiterate our appreciation and gratitude for your attendance today. Mr. Executive Secretary, you have the floor. And our ears, and our undivided attention, and the general public as well. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. To the Senate President, Senator Vic Zubiri, to the Chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, Senator Francis Tolentino, to the Chairman of the Committee on Agriculture, the Honorable Senator Cynthia Villar, to the other members of the Augustus of the Senate. Good morning to all of you, Your Honors. And before I begin, I would like to sincerely apologize if there is we have to resort to the issuance of a subpoena to compel my presence today. I have no intention whatsoever to disrespect the honorable members of the Senate and the Senate as an institution. And that is why immediately when I learned that a subpoena was issued, I don't want to, but I have to inform His Excellency, even if he is on a state visit, and immediately he asked me to forthwith see the Senate President and immediately be present in today's Blue Ribbon Committee hearing, Your Honors. Again, my apologies, Your Honors, sirs and ma'am. For the pressing matter that was mentioned by the Chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, first on the signal that triggered the passage of SO4, I definitely deny that there was a signal coming from my end that, or I have given them the go-ahead to pass that resolution or the sugar order number 4 calling for the importation of more or less 300,000 metric tons of sugar. For the pressing matter number 2 that was raised by the Honorable Ontiveros, if I may, sir,
Please proceed, sir.
regarding the communication, I didn't get it completely, sir. I apologize.
Second part, and this can be clarified by Senator Ontiveros, was that the SRA board members then, I'm referring to Mr. Serafica, Beltran, and Valderrama, apparently understood, coming from a meeting, I just heard an online meeting, that they should proceed with an import plan cum SO number 4, even if there is a provision that calls for an approval and a reprobation item in another section. So can we ask Senator Ontiveros to clarify that briefly? Baka mali yung rephrasing ko nung pangalawang tanong. We take advantage of the presence of Executive Secretary Rodriguez. Ano po yung tinatanong nyo noon? Briefly, para hindi na natin ulitin yung nasagot kanina.
Salamat, Mr. Chair, at magandang tanghali din po, Mr. Executive Secretary. It's good to see you here finally po to clarify these questions. Actually, Mr. Chair, hindi ko nakuha masyadong klaro yung pag-summarize nyo ng second point, but if I pick up some of the pieces of the question of the good chair, yung isa ay may kinalaman dun sa memorandum from the Office of the Executive Secretary dated July na nagbibigay ng some delegated powers to the former SRA head or suspended, presently, preventively suspended SRA head Yusek Sebastian on behalf of the President as a DA Yusek and particularly as ahead of the SRA, subject to the review and reprobation of the President. Yun po ba, Mr. Chair? Although wala naman ako po akong tanong tungkol doon, mas I made it of record also that in fact, it would seem na sina Yusek Sebastian et al. Acted on the basis of that memorandum from your office. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Executive Secretary, you can reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding if they have acted on the basis of the memorandum issued, granting additional or delegating additional authority to the Senior Undersecretary Sebastian then, Your Honor, we made it very clear to them that we are requiring for the submission of an import plan prior to the passage of a sugar order. And as I have mentioned during my appearance last August 23, that we were still in the process of determining the basis of their suggestion on whether to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar or not. Ang gusto hong malaman ng Pangulo, unang-una, ano ang nangyari, consumed na ba yung 200,000 metric tons? At kung ito'y na-consume na, ano ang ating magiging basihan kung bakit tayo mag-i-import uli based on the proposed SO4, kaya ho kami humihingi ng import plan. Wala po, Your Honor, na pagkakasunduan o naaprobahang import plan, kaya wala pa hong basihan din yung pagpasa nila ng SO4. Dahil hindi pa ho nila mabigay yung essentially process of liquidating yung 200,000 metric tons na produkto po ng SO3. Nandoon pa lamang ho kami, kaya nga ho nagulat kami pareho ng ating Pangulo, bakit nagpasa ng SO4 at bakit 300,000 metric tons ang ipinipilit na ating iangkat muli.
Mr. Chair, if I may as a follow-up.
Is this related to the...
Yes, to this question, Mr. Chair. Salamat po. I would like po to to read a portion of the testimony of the good executive secretary himself when he appeared before the Blue Ribbon regarding that August 4 meeting. I'm reading here from pages 153 to 154 nung nagbigay ng presentation si ES sa Blue Ribbon. Sabi dito, this is the transcript of what the good ES told the committee. On August 4, Thursday, in a meeting again in Malacanang, we were told by Yusek Leo Sebastian that as of 3 August 2022, or the day before the meeting, the SRA has reclassified 62,000 kilos of sugar from C to B. In a meeting with then SRA Administrator Serafica, and in the presence of my Senior Deputy Executive Secretary, the Deputy Executive Secretary for Finance and Administration, and the Deputy Secretary for Legal Affairs, and as well as the presence of Dr. Molly Chong, the President of the PITC, I asked for the specifics on the status of the 200,000 metric tons sugar, part of Sugar Order Number 3, and on that occasion, 4 August, many figures were given, but seemingly, the former administrator himself is uncertain or unsure of what he was citing or what he cited. The meeting concluded with the following matters for action. I, meaning the ES, I specifically requested that in the event there is really a need for the government to resort to another round of sugar importation, I asked for the import plan. I also asked who will be accredited, and an answer to our query if the PITC may import on behalf of industrial and for home consumption sugars. And finally, if we may be given a draft sugar order for their proposed 300,000 metric tons new round of importation. So I'm asking the good ES, Mr. Chairman, to confirm to the committee, confirm again, since it is in our transcript, if indeed he told the committee when he first appeared, made the presentation to us, that in that meeting, malinaw po sa transcript, mayroon na pong pinag-usapang 300,000 metric tons na babanggitin sa importation plan, which in SRA language is importation program, which is embodied in a draft sugar order. Meron na pong 300,000 na binanggit, Mr. Chair.
Senator Teveras, in effect, what you are asking from the good executive secretary is to reaffirm the words coming from his sworn statement.
Yes, Mr. Chair, which actually contradict what he just told us now, na walang pinag-usapang amount. Pero mismo sa kanilang presentation last time, nasa transcript ng Blue Ribbon, ito nga po yung isang follow-up question ko sana. Do you confirm that you heard the proposal to import 300,000 metric tons? Dahil nasa transcript na po ng Blue Ribbon nung una kayong nag-present, good ES, na may amount na pinag-uusapan at pinag-iisipan noon na 300,000 metric tons, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Executive Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Senator. Mr. Chair, wala hong debate at hindi ko ho tinatanggi na simula pa lamang ay yung amount na 300,000 metric tons ay isinusulong na ng SRA Board. Yun nga ho yung dahilan kung bakit kami humihingi ng import plan so that they can justify why they are so fixated with 300,000 metric tons of importation. That will be the subject matter of DSO4. I am not denying, Mr. Chairman, that the amount in terms of quantity of 300,000 metric tons has been mentioned many times. And that is precisely why we are asking them to submit to us an import plan so that they can justify. Why 300,000 metric tons? Why not 250? Why not 200? Why not 150? Nandoon pa lamang ho kami, kagalang-galang na senador. At yes, I affirm, lahat po ng nakalagay doon sa transcript, it's essentially the same as what I have written here in my notebook, that the meeting concluded with the following matters for action. Number one, the import plan. Two, kung sino ho yung ma-accredit at kung masagot nila yung katanungan, kung maaari bang mag-import mismo ang PITC on behalf of the industrial and for home consumption. At yun nga ho, yung draft sugar order for the proposed 300,000 metric tons. Again, bakit po 300,000? Because that amount, that quantity, ay galing po sa kanila paulit-ulit yan. But we will rely essentially on the import plan if they can justify it or if we ourselves can be convinced na kinakailangan nga 300,000 metric tons ang ating iangkat. Dagdag ko lamang ho, para lang din po siguro klaro, wala rin naman hong debate kung dapat tayong mag-angkat o hindi. Dapat po tayong mag-angkat. Nahinto lamang po kami, Your Honors, kung magkakano in terms of quantity yung ating dapat iangkat.
Mr. Chair. Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Thank you, my dear colleague. So, ang lumalabas sa Executive Secretary, bukang bibig ng SRA yun. Yung 300,000. They kept mentioning it in the meeting.
Tama po yun, Mr. Senate President. Tama po yun, Your Honor, na yung 300,000 metric tons, hindi po nanggaling sa amin yung amount na yan at kami nga ay nagtatanong bakit 300,000 metric tons. And again, I saw it also in my notes that in the meeting held on August 4 in my office, Your Honors, ang sinasabi nga namin, pinag-uusapan namin noon, nung dating administrator ng SRA na si Mr. Administrator Serafica, can you just please show us paanong naubos o yung liquidation ng 200,000 metric tons? In fact, ang tanong ko ho noon, yung 200,000 metric tons ba, lahat yan ay landed? Ang sagot po, 62% yan ay landed. And we computed more or less 130,000. Nasaan yung kulang na 70? Para alam natin bakit ang presyo ay nasa 110, 115 per kilo. Meron ba talagang shortage? At ang tugon ho niya, nag-reclassify lamang ho kami a week back or few days back ng 62,000 metric tons. So, kako, simple math, yung 130,000 metric tons plus 62, 192 na. At saan ngayon mapupunta yung binabanggit ninyo na meron pang 35,000 metric tons in transit papunta sa isang warehouse for reclassification? Put them all together, 130 more or less, 62,000 metric tons more or less, plus yung 35,000 na sinasabi mo, kako, so sobra tayo sa 200,000 metric tons. Sabi ko sa kanya, yan ang mga importanteng detalye na gusto sanang makita ng Pangulo. Bago tayo mag-finalize, kung magkakano, again, in terms of quantity, yung dapat ho nating i-import, Your Honors, please.
Mr. Chair, one follow-up question about this particular.
Then the Senate President would like to interject.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As the SP and I have both noted, kinonfirm ni ES na may pinag-usapan at pinag-iisipang amount na 300,000 metric tons doon sa pulong na iyon noong August 4. As the ES also confirmed earlier and recorded already in the transcript of the Blue Ribbon, there was an instruction to the SRA to draft an import plan, which is an import program, which is a draft sugar order. Huling follow-up sa puntong ito, ES, was there any opposition mentioned in that meeting to the proposal to import 300,000 metric tons? Sabi nyo nga po kanina, ES, ito yung proposal, ito yung rekomendasyon ng SRA, sabi po nila, patay sa mga rekomendasyon ng mga stakeholders. But in that meeting po, was there any opposition expressed by the good ES or the President or any other person participating to the proposal to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Your Honor. May opposition po at ang opposition ho mismo ay galing sa amin. Yun nga ho yung sinasabi namin, bakit 300,000 metric tons yung pilit ninyong binabanggit na amount of importation. Kaya nga po, let me be respectfully, let me be very clear again, that is why we were asking for an import plan. Yung import plan, nandun po sana yung detalye. And then, pati nga ho yung mekanismo, dahil sila naman ho talaga ang nakakaalam, paano ba yung accreditation ninyo ng trader na pwede mag-import, paano yung distribution ninyo ng X amount of metric tons, magkaanong in terms of quantity kay trader A, B, C, D, E, o kung pwede ang industrial user mismo diretso mag-import. Yun po yung aming pinag-uusapan pa noon. At yun po yun. At we objected doon sa initial amount of 300,000 metric tons. And yung sinasabi po natin na gumawa sila ng draft sugar order for the proposed 300,000 metric ton purposely so we can makumpara po namin, Your Honors, yung import plan mo dito sa ginigiit mong draft SO na 300,000 metric tons. Para meron naman ho kaming ibabanggang mga dokumento. Bakit ba naman, just in case, bakit ba sa import plan mo ito lang ang linalabas? Bakit ba dito sa draft SO mo ito pinipilit mo? Yun lang naman ho po yun, Your Honors.
For the record, Mr. Chair, before I end this line of questioning, yung sinabi ni ES nung kanilang presentation noon sa transcript ng Blue Ribbon na, and finally, if we may be given a draft sugar order for their proposed 300,000 metric tons new round of importation, doesn't sound like an objection. At most, clarification. Kasi kung nag-o-object talaga, tumututol talaga, ayaw talaga, I don't think government would even ask for a draft of a sugar order. Ayon po kay ES, they oppose the 300,000. It seems there's a confusion po, Mr. Chair, as to what the President intended. So, para lang po malinaw talaga, definitely sa Blue Ribbon, I respectfully move to subpoena the Zoom recording of the August 4th meeting with the President, the ES, former Board Member Valderrama, and former Administrator Serafica. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Senator Tiveros, I think that will have to be discussed again by the committee because these are confidential statements now. In an in-camera hearing, we will discuss whether we have the right to subpoena and retrieve via subpoena duces tecum without violating the confidentiality or privileged communications between the Chief Executive himself and his subalterns, and without violating perhaps Data Privacy Act provisions. So
I
think
submit,
we will
Mr.
have
Chair.
to discuss that, Senator Ontiveros.
I submit, Mr. Chair, subject to making another motion at the
Yes,
proper
yes,
time, just to help really settle these seemingly hindi po nagtutugmang mga statements. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
But the good Executive Secretary already affirmed twice the contents of his previous statements. So the Senate President is recognized.
No, I'd like to confirm what the ES had said because in a meeting in Malacanang, I don't know what date that was when you called us ES to help with the stakeholders. Do you recall that date? Was it August, second week of August?
Your Honor, I think it was during the oath-taking of the BARM officials, Your Honor.
That's correct.
I'm not
forget
sure
the date.
exactly the date, exactly when.
August 17, according to my staff. August 17, the President was present in that meeting together with the stakeholders. And I'd like to quote what the President said. Nung pinag-usapan daw nila ito doon sa August 4 meeting, ang sabi ng Pangulo ay, ganun ba karaming kailangan natin i-import? Exact words of the President. He asked the SRA that, ganun ba karaming kailangan natin ma-import? Baka naman mas konti. That's what the President, and I have a witness here, Mr. William Chua was here, some of the stakeholders are in this room, and they were present in that meeting. And I'd like them to confirm also, maybe later on the sideline, that the President had said that. The President had questioned the number that the SRA was floating around. So, whether my dear colleague will believe me or not, Senator Risa will believe me or not, yan ang sinabi ng Pangulo, and I believe him. Because bukang bibig niya dun sa kampanya namin ay uunahin niya kapakanan ng mga magsasaka. At ang sabi pa ng Pangulo, let us frown upon importation, let us strengthen our farmers so that we can be self-reliant on our food security. Yan ang bukang bibig niya tuwing umiikot kami. So when he said that in our August 17 meeting, that he was aghast and saying to the SRA, ganun ba karaming kailangan natin import? Yan ang tanong ni Pangulo. So, I believe that the number did not come from the executive secretary nor the president. And it was coming from the SRA. For the record, Your Honor, I can only give you what I know from this August 17 meeting with the president that told me. For the record of this hearing.
Thank you, Senate President. Unless there are other questions related to the previous statement of the Executive Secretary, my advice to our colleagues is that we limit ourselves to the four corners of the sworn statement plus other matters that arose from this hearing. More importantly, more pointedly, the claim of former Administrator Serapica. And we're now shifting to, with the permission of Senator Pimentel, we're now shifting to item 3. That there was the claim of Mr. Serapica is that it was not 300,000 but 600,000. Mr. Serapica, are you still online? Are you still there?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm still here.
Pakiulit yung sinabi mo na ang pinaplano nyo ay 600,000. Totoo ba yun?
Under oath.
Hindi po, hindi ko po yun sinabi ang plano.
Sinabi mo yung kanina.
Hindi po.
We have your tape testimony. You were under oath. We have the transcript of stenographic notes here that I even asked you kanina. I was the one who asked you. I think that was an hour ago. I have the time here. I even asked you, bakit ngayon lang lumabas yung 600,000? Na hindi mo sinabi. Nagpapawisan ka ngayon. Hindi ko alam kung walang aircon dyan sa likod mo. 600,000, tapos sinabi mo online. Ngayon, sinasabi mo, hindi mo sinabi yon. We can replay
Hindi ko
that.
po sinabi na 600 po yung
Sinabi mo
pinopropose
yun.
ko po.
Mr. Chair.
Ang dami nakarinig no kanina. It's not me against you. Even the media can show that. If i-play sa'yo yun, you mentioned 600,000 metric tons. Saan mo nabunot yun? Tapos ngayon, dinideny mo na.
Mr.
Hindi ko po
Chair.
yun sinabi, Mr. Chair.
Kung nandito ka lang sa premises ng Senado, pinakulong ka na namin dito. Pero sinabi mo yung kanina, ang pinalalabas mo ngayon, ako yung nagsisinungaling?
Hindi po ganyan yung pagsabi ko po, Mr. Chair.
Ano yung sinabi mo?
Yung with due respect sa mahal na Pangulo po, yung sinabi niyang 600,000 metric tons, sabi ko po, Mr. President, that may be too much kasi nagbukas na po yung first farmers ng kanilang pag-accept ng canes at saka mag-mail na po
Mr. Chairman, ayaw na nga ng presidente ng 300,000 metric tons, 600,000 pa. I don't believe the president had said that. Impossible. The president will not come up with a figure on the top of his mind. You better clarify, Mr. Serafica, you are very close to being cited for contempt.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the 300,000
Yes, but let the records reflect. The TSN would bear me out na sinabi mo yon. I even commented. Ngayon ko lang narinig yung 600,000 metric tons. Ngayon ko lang narinig yung online. Ang sinabi ko pa, wag mong gamitin yung Pangulo. Sinabi mo, sumagot ka uli. Sabi mo, 600,000 metric tons. Now you are denying that and impliedly saying that either we are deaf here, all of us here are deaf, or I am lying.
Yung 600,000 po yan, Mr. Chair, hindi po yan galing sa akin po. Yung 600,000 na yan, hindi galing po yan sa akin. Yung binanggit po ni Presidente ng 600,000, sabi ko po na Mr. President, that might be too much. Yun ang sabi ko po.
What you're saying now is that it never came from you, but from another source, the Chief Executive himself. Perhaps the good Executive Secretary can affirm whether that came from the President himself or Mr. Serapica is telling us false truths, half lies, or what? Executive Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wala hong binabanggit na amount in terms of quantity si kagalang-galang na Pangulo Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. pagdating doon sa metric tons na dapat iangkat. Kaya po tayo naipit doon sa import plan pa lamang dahil hindi nga ho kami kumbinsido sa 300,000 metric tons. Again, let me be very clear, Your Honors, wala hong debate na dapat tayo ay mag-angkat. Wala pong debate na dapat tayo mag-import. Nahinto na lamang po kami kung magkakano talaga yung amount na dapat nating iangkat. At wala pong katotohanan na nanggaling kay Pangulong Marcos yung 600,000 metric tons. I would like to join the manifestation of the good senator, the Senate President, kung yung 300,000 metric tons nga ho ay hindi kumbinsido ang Pangulo, bakit naman niya sasabihin 600,000 metric tons? And fact of the matter, Your Honors, there is already a SO1 and SO2 passed by the new board. Ang iaangkat nga lamang ho natin ay 150,000 metric tons. Malayong-malayo po doon sa sinabi kanina ng dating SRA Administrator na 600,000 metric tons.
I'd just like to add, Mr. Chairman, sa ilang hearing na po ito, pangatlong hearing na po ito, bakit ngayon lang niya binanggit yun? Dapat sa naunang hearing pa lang, binanggit niya na yun. Where does this supposed number come from and where is it coming from? Ako, dudang-duda ako dito, Mr. Chairman. I don't know why this kind of information was put in play, maybe to muddle all these discussions. But why did he just come up with this now and now he's denying it?